So this video is about how to count in different bases, and what you need to think about are the digits that are allowed in that base. So if we were in something like, say, oops, that's a highlighter. If we were in something called like base 4, right, the only digits we're allowed to use are 0, 1, 2, and 3. And now think about like an odometer, right? So you're in the ones place. And first you have 0, and then you have 1, and then you have 2, and then you have 3. But now if I want to drive one more mile, I can't go to the number 4 because that symbol doesn't exist, because only symbols I'm allowed to use are 0, 1, 2, 3. So I have to roll this over to 0, and oops, that's kind of small. I have to roll this ones digit over to 0, and now I have to introduce the next digit. So that's going to start 1. So now if I wanted to count the value 5, I would keep my 1, and my ones digit, so the right digit, would count up. So I would have 1, and then 2, 1, and then 3. And you notice I'm not saying 13 and 10. I'm reading each digit separately. So now here, 1 and then 3. So I want to drive one more mile, but my 3 is going to roll over to 0. So my 1 has to bump up to a 2. And I just keep counting that way. So the thing about when you're in a base bigger than 10 is that you have to introduce new symbols to represent the allowed digits. So in base 13, let's do base 13, you're allowed to have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but now I can't write like a 10, a 1, 0, because that's a rollover. So instead of 10, I'm going to write A. And instead of 11, I'm going to write B. And instead of 12, I'm going to write C. But now I'm not going to go up to 13, because remember, you always stop one less than the base value. Okay, so if I was doing an odometer for base 13, I would, have 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C. And then if I wanted to go one more digit, I'd have to roll the C over back to 0, and I'd have to introduce a place value to the left. So here, let's say I'm in base 13 and my odometer reads C79. Well, now I drive one more mile. So what does that 9 turn into? It turns into an A. I haven't had to roll over, so everything else stays the same. In base, so this next one is base 15. I guess I should technically, you have to write this, 13. So in the next one, I'm in base 15. So what are my allowed digits? I've got, let's see, I get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, not 10, sorry. So I can't write 10, that was 2 digits. I need a single digit to represent that idea, so I'm going to call it A. That would represent the idea of 10. I would have a B to represent the idea of 11, a C to represent the idea of 12, a D to represent the idea of 13, and E to represent the idea of 14. And I stop at 14, or E in this case, because I just wanted one single digit for the concept of 0 to 14, because again, I'm in base 15. So here's my odometer, B, E, E. So think about let's think about if you're at 199 on your odometer, right? And you drive one more mile. Well, when you drive one more mile, this 9 rolls over to a 0. And so now we're like, hey, place value to the left, you now have to go up 1. And they're like, oh no, it's a 9. It's going to roll over to 0. So I have to go, hey, place value to the left, you have to go up 1. And so that would turn to a 2. Now this is base 10. Now we're going to do it in base 15. So now why am I mentioning this? Well, because we're at E. So this E is going to roll over to a 0 and say, hey, base value to the left, you got to bump up. So then this guy's like, okay, let me bump up 1. Uh-oh, I'm going to roll over to a 0. So hey, place value to the left, you've got to bump up 1. So when I bump up 1 from the place value B, moving 1 over, I would get C. So I have C, 0, 0, and this is technically base 15.